Hi, welcome back. We're going to start chapter 4 of the Z-fari video book today. So if you're sitting comfortably and you're ready, we can begin. Bibi sat on the edge of the bed in his room in the barracks and wondered what the hell he had gotten himself into this time. Things had looked so bright just yesterday, and now he wondered if they could get any darker. On the end of the cot, on top of the thin olive green wool blanket, was a towel, a washcloth, and a bar of soap. A hint? Bibi took them and wandered down the hall to the bathroom and showers. He passed a room with washing machines and dryers and thought idly that he would need to buy something to wear if he was going to wash what he was wearing. But a shower first. After getting clean on the outside, Bibi walked back to his room. A twin-sized bed with a thin mattress, a computer desk and a chair, a chest of drawers, a microwave, and a small refrigerator that doubled as a bedside table. All the comforts of home. There was a note on the bed. Bibi picked it up and read it. He was going to meet with a Dr. McDougall at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Okay. Now he needed a walk and some food and some new clothes. As he walked out into the Wichita evening, Bibi felt a little better. Sergeant Emily Earhart had had a long day, and it wasn't over yet. She looked at application files from all of the Border Patrol stations on the wall in all 4 cities. She had opened the shared files on Google Drive. 245 applications. She had examined 51 and promised herself that she would leave the station and head for home for a long bubble bath and a mason jar of Booker Nose when she reached 100. She placed a check mark next to each file that she received. Lots of losers that she wouldn't want to guard even her garden from crows, much less undead hordes. 66. Maybe this one deserves a second look. Cedric Jones, originally from Chicago, ex-military police, 35, a bachelor's in criminal justice, and a Lake and Antis 5 Master of Modern Arnis. A smart, bad dude. She put a star next to that one on the list and copied the application to her own file of maybes. 34 to go. She finished looking at the last of the files she'd assigned herself for the day. Cedric Jones had been the only one that was worth looking at again. She had earned her reward. She logged off the computer, stretched, got up from her desk, walked to the doorway, and turned out the lights. Tomorrow would be another day. Dr. McDougall was closing up the lab for the night when his phone rang. He picked up the receiver, listened for a minute, and said, "Bring him on down." He walked over to a chair that resembled nothing more than a dentist's chair with lots of straps. On a metal tray within arm's length of the chair was a syringe loaded with a strong sedative. 2 minutes later, 4 obviously military men, dressed in black, pulled a barely struggling man with his hands zip-tied behind his back and a bag over his head into the lab. "Put him in the chair," the doctor ordered. One of the 4 men clipped the zip ties that held the prisoner's wrists, and the 4 men lifted their captive and laid him in the chair, immediately securing the straps that held his ankles, knees, wrists, and elbows immobile. Thicker straps were then tightened to hold his hips and shoulders motionless. Dr. McDougall moved a light to shine on the man's head and said, "Take off the bag and strap his head down." As the bag was removed, the man in the chair shook his head back and forth, trying to have some control over what was happening. One of the masked men held the captive's head, while a second masked man tightened a strap across the prisoner's forehead. McDougall adjusted the blinding light into the man's eyes. "Thank you, gentlemen," Dr. McDougall said, and the masked men left the lab. The doctor took the syringe off the metal tray, held it up, and tapped the side of the syringe to make any bubbles move to the top. He pushed the plunger in a fraction and let a little jet of liquid fly out of the tip of the needle. Good. Old haloperidol and lorazepam. 10 and 2, right in the arm. Wilbur Post was asleep in minutes. "Welcome to the lab, Willie," Dr. McDougall thought. When Willie was softly snoring, McDougall turned off the overhead lights in the lab and left for home. He hoped Mrs. McDougall had left him a plate of dinner that he could heat up. Morning didn't exactly dawn the next day. The sky from which the steady drizzle fell got a little lighter, and a little lighter, and finally a little lighter still, but the drops continued to sprinkle all morning. Emily Earhart squeezed her eyes shut to keep out any light at all. Her alarm clock blasted out the bro country that she hated. Luke Bryan's repulsive "That's My Kind of Night" screamed out of the little speaker on the top of the little lime green plastic cube. That was motivation enough to get up and stop that noise. Most mornings, Emily was able to find the button to turn it off, but this was the eighth little plastic cube alarm clock radio that she had purchased in the past year. Sometimes throwing it against the wall worked just as well. Emily succeeded in turning off Luke's caterwauling and lay still and quiet under the sheet. She had kicked off the rest of the covers sometime during the night. Ugh, another day of searching through trooper applications to find a replacement for Ned. Well, she really should try to find about 5 or 6 new troopers. There were going to be vacancies on probably a quarter of the 30 or so platforms she commanded within the next 6 months. If it wasn't the zombies, it was retirements or troopers just walking off the job. She rolled out of bed and walked into the bathroom, teeth brushed, a quick shower. Sergeant Earhart looked out the little bathroom window and decided that the weather was nasty enough for her to run to work. The little house she rented was just north of Oak Park, and it was about 5 miles to the Border Patrol station. Yep, 5 miles of running in the rain should sour her mood pretty effectively. She smiled at the thought of how bitchy she would be today. Emily pulled on lime green compression tights, pulled her shocking pink t-shirt with the great photo of Johnny Cash giving everyone the finger over her head, slipped on her gray Under Armour windstorm hoodie, and slipped on her pink and blue Asics gel Cumulus running shoes and tied them tight. As she moved through the kitchen, she grabbed a banana and slipped it into her pocket, drank a tall glass of water, and grabbed her keys. She opened the back door, went out onto the little porch with the awning that never really kept the rain off or the sun, locked the door, and slipped the keys into the other pocket of her hoodie. She spent the next 8 or 10 minutes warming up, touching toes, kicking, swinging legs, and lunging. By the end of her little routine, she felt much better and ready for the run and the day ahead of her. Dr. McDougall got up without any alarm. He got up every morning at the same time. It had nothing to do with a remarkable internal clock. His dogs slept with him, and they knew almost to the minute when they needed to go out and when it was time to eat. He had gotten a lot more sleep before he had gotten the 2 dachshunds, but now he couldn't imagine why he would ever need any more sleep than they allowed him to have. He rolled out of bed, slipped on a pair of cargo shorts, a pair of loafers, and a t-shirt. The dogs were waiting by the bedroom door. "I'll be back after I walk the dogs, honey," he said to the sleeping form in the bed. The woman under the covers mumbled a response. The doctor walked downstairs and into the kitchen. The dogs' harnesses were hung by the back door. He grabbed them and threw them on the floor. "Come here, Otto," he said. And when the red dapple came, McDougall fastened its harness. "Come here, Bob," he said. And when the black and tan came, he fastened its harness. "Good dogs. Let's go, boys." Dr. McDougall held both leashes in one hand. He realized that it was drizzling after he had walked out of the back door. "Oh, well," he thought, "it's just water." The dogs led him out into the backyard and over near the rhododendron. Thank God. While the dogs sniffed at something next to the fence, Dr. McDougall unzipped his shorts with his free hand, reached in to grab his penis, and pull it out to pee. He urinated onto the woody shrub, and when he had finished and shaken any lingering drops from his penis, he slipped it back into his shorts and zipped them back up again. By the time the dogs had finished their morning bathrooming, Dr. McDougall was soaked and had a plastic bag of poo in his pocket. He was happy to get back inside. The last person in the barracks to wake up was Bibi. Everyone else had duty assignments that started around 8 or 9. Bibi Duvalier had nothing on his schedule really until his meeting with Dr. McDougall at 1. He took his sweet time waking up and getting out of bed. When he did move, he grabbed the bar of soap and a towel, walked down the hall to the bathroom and shower. 15 minutes later, clean and ready to go, he returned to his room. He had left the bags from his shopping trip the previous night on top of the dresser. He rummaged through them and found what he needed. He splurged and bought a pair of keen steel-toed work shoes. They looked a lot more like trendy sneakers, but they were basically waterproof and had steel toes. A pair of water-repellent Sitka cargo pants in a pretty light brown and gray digital camo pattern, a pair of white cotton socks, a chestnut brown A.H. Fox HE grade Super Fox, the world's finest shotgun t-shirt. The shirt had set him back $20. When he had saved up another $5,000, Bibi promised himself that he would buy the shotgun that would go nicely with the shirt. This completed his outfit. He was hungry and had a couple of hours to kill until his meeting with the doctor. Bibi remembered seeing a Waffle House a couple of blocks away from the barracks. Something scattered, smothered, covered, peppered, and topped would suit him just fine. Bibi thought to look out the window in his room before he left. It was coming down, just enough for a raincoat. He reached into the last bag from his shopping trip and pulled out his new red Marmo minimalist rain jacket. He slipped it on, zipped it up, and pulled the hood over his head and walked out the door. Sergeant Emily Earhart ran out of the rain into the Border Patrol station. She was early again. and not many others were in the big, ugly, old building. She walked to the locker room to shower and change into her uniform. 10 minutes later, she was sitting at her desk, coffee brewing in the pot on the table by the wall, her computer booting up. She began by looking again at the one file that had gotten her attention the day before, Cedric Jones. Definitely a keeper. Get him here as soon as possible to start covering days off. She'd need at least one more immediately and then another dozen in the month to come. There. The files were up on her screen again. She read the first one. No, not in a million years. Emily made a little pistol out of her left hand, let her thumb be the hammer, and pushed the delete button as she fired her finger. She smiled. One down.